Chapter 2461. I have to be stricter with a little kid like you. Zhou Chengwang coaxed her and fed her one mouthful at a time. Although Qin Mu was unwilling, she pinched her nose and drank the plum in one go after thinking about it. Baby, you're great. He opened his hands and peeled the plum for her to eat. Qin Mu couldn't stand him anymore and glared at him. Don't do that to my brother. I'm not eating it. Then which style do you like? Zhou Chengwang pinched her little face. Qin Mu slapped his hand away, blushing. Zhou Chengwang leaned over and kissed her deeply, sharing the taste of the medicine in her mouth with her. At first, Qin Mu was a little resistant. It wasn't good, but she couldn't reject him when he kissed her deeply. She could only accept his kiss helplessly. Again and again. After the kiss, he kissed her little face again. I'll wait for you downstairs. I'll send you to see the gallery later, okay? Qin Mu nodded. Okay. She looked quite obedient. He couldn't help but touch her little face again and go down first. However, the moment he turned around, his face darkened slightly. He walked downstairs slowly and prepared breakfast before Qin Mu came down. When Qin Mu came down the stairs, he still had a smile on his face. She couldn't see anything. Qin Mu bit the croissant he prepared and said calmly, Zhou Chengwang, when do you think my brother and Cher are going to come back from their honeymoon? Zhou Chengwang smiled. It's just that Shui is back. She's pregnant. What do you think she can do? Qin Mu bit her lip. Even if she can't help, I'll take a look. After a while, she sat beside him and hugged his waist with her little hands, speaking in a low voice. Chengwang, Shui is pregnant. It's hard for her to get pregnant as well. Now that she's pregnant, does that mean that I can get pregnant as well? He could hear the uneasiness in her voice, as well as a little disappointment. His gaze became extremely gentle. He lowered his head and pressed it against her little face. He sighed softly. There will be Mumu. We will definitely have children. Qin Mu nodded and sat up straight again. Her temperament had become a lot livelier recently, probably because of his excessive pampering, and he liked it very much. Zhou Chengwang waited for her to finish eating and then went outside to wait for her in the car. Women always needed to tidy up before going out. Qin Mu walked over slowly. Zhou Chengwang reached out to open the car door for her. He smiled and said, You look beautiful today. Today, she was wearing a Chanel jacket. Her brown curly hair was well combed, and her shoes were exquisite. It was rare for her to dress up like this. As Qin Mu sat in the car, he was still looking at her. Did you tidy up because you're going out with me? Qin Mu glanced at him, buckled her seatbelt, and smiled. I heard that the landlord is quite handsome. Qin Mu, Zhou Chengwang said with a hint of warning in his tone. Will he be as handsome as your husband? Qin Mu chuckled. You know, after being married for a long time, there's not so much novelty. She was just joking with him, but Zhou Chengwang was very fussy. He reached out and pinched her little face. Mumu, say that you'll never leave me. Qin Mu was surprised, and then she smiled helplessly. Zhou Chengwang, when did you become like a child? You're so fussy. But Zhou Chengwang didn't laugh. He kept looking at her. Chapter 2462. He still didn't speak. She was a little flustered and shook his arm carefully. Zhou Chengwang. He seemed to come back to his senses. Looking at Qin Mu, he leaned over and hugged her gently. Me too. I won't leave you. Qin Mu was thrown into his arms. Her little face rested on his shoulder, and she felt his heartbeat. After a long time, he let go of her and didn't talk as much as before. It was a little silent in the car until they reached the place she chose. It was a very good location. It was located in the elite section of B City. It was a full 800 square meters, and the annual rent was probably a few million yuan. However, Zhou Chengwang didn't care about that. As long as Qin Mu was happy, it didn't matter whether he earned money or not. As Qin Mu said, the landlord was very young and very handsome. He was very much like Li Ziyan in Love and the Producer. In reality, he was another male version of Qin Shun, a real man. Zhou Chengwang watched his little wife socialize with other men and watched her smile and discuss things with others. In Zhou Zong's eyes, the landlord had successfully become a male mistress. Every smile, in Zhou Zong's eyes, was extremely hateful. Qin Mu occasionally saw her husband's expression and felt that he was very cute. However, she didn't pay attention to him. If he was jealous like this, she would have died a long time ago because of what he had done in the past. Qin Mu and the landlord quickly negotiated the rent. She paid a deposit of 20 yuan first, which was considered to be a deal. The rest will be paid in 2 days after the contract was drawn up. From the beginning to the end, she behaved very independently and didn't need Zhou Chengwang to show up. Gradually, Zhou Chengwang also realized this. All these years, Qin Mu had been staying at home, but she was not unfamiliar with these things in the outside world at all. This actually made Zhou Chengwang feel a sense of crisis, which meant that Qin Mu could live well without him. His back was drenched in cold sweat. After Qin Mu finished talking, she tilted her head to look at him and asked curiously, "Zhou Chengwang, what's wrong?" He forced a smile and opened the door to let her get in. After he got in the car, he smiled and said nothing. Qin Mu sat beside him and said softly, "Are you under a lot of pressure?" "What?" His voice was hoarse as he tilted his head to look at her. Qin Mu smiled faintly. "I'm saying pregnant. Don't compare yourself to your brother." "That's not what I meant." He was still looking at her with a curious expression. In the end, Qin Mu stuck out her tongue and finally said, "I mean, you're already very powerful. You don't need to feel inferior in this aspect." Zhou Chengwang's eyes were tinged with a hint of a smile, and his voice was soft, "Idiot." With that said, he pulled her into his embrace and hugged her tightly. Qin Mu could feel how much he cared for her in his embrace. Her voice was light as a feather. "Zhou Chengwang, if we can't have a child, can I be your child? I can act cute every day, and I'm not worse than Cher at all. Why are you comparing yourself to her?" He patted her back gently. "You are you, not someone else." His little fool nodded blankly and then quickly said, "I just saw that you were depressed today, so I wanted to comfort you." He reached out to touch his chin and laughed at himself. "Maybe it's early menopause?" Qin Mu understood and nodded hard. "Probably." Chapter 2463. Zhou Chengwang smiled and started the car. As he drove, he asked casually, "Are you going to your mother's place or go home first?" Qin Mu glanced at him. "I thought you would invite me to your office." Zhou Chengwang smiled and then looked at her meaningfully. "I want to check the post." Qin Mu snorted. "Why would I check the post when I'm with you? If I want to check, I should do it on my own." Zhou Chengwang was silent for a long time before he said in a low voice, "It won't happen again. It won't happen again." Qin Mu knew what he was talking about. She pursed her lips and said in a low voice, "I don't mean to bring up the past, because she would be looking for trouble if she talked about it." Zhou Chengwang smiled. "Good girl." Qin Mu's voice suddenly became fierce. "Throw that sofa away. I don't want to see it again." He deliberately coaxed her. "I'll change my office and use that place as a warehouse, okay?" Qin Mu snorted and did not answer him. She didn't believe him. He only knew how to coax her. But after a while, she still said, "I'll go to my mother's place. You seem to have a lot of work these days." He held the steering wheel with one hand and pinched her little face with the other. "It sounds like you have a conscience." Qin Mu stared at him. Zhou Chengwang smiled and turned the car to the Qin family's place. Half an hour later, he dropped her off. When Qin Mu got out of the car, she was still a little dependent. "You get off work early." He leaned over and kissed her little face. His voice was a little hoarse. "I'll pick you up tonight." Qin Mu got out of the car, waved at him, and watched the car drive away. Behind her, a little person hugged her body and said in a soft voice, "Aunt." Qin Mu immediately knew that it was Xiao Yishu. She smiled and turned around with the little fellow in her arms. She really could eat. In just a few days, she had gained a little weight. Qin Mu really liked her and kissed her. "What delicious food did you eat?" She took a whiff of the milky fragrance and was as intoxicated as Yi Muyun. Xiao Yishu hugged her with her chubby hands and pointed at Yiliangqiu. "Grandma, Grandma." Qin Mu corrected her with a smile. "It's Grandma." Xiao Yishu reached out to hold her face and gave her a sweet kiss. Yiliangqiu walked over and hugged Xiao Yishu. Then, she smiled at her little daughter. "She likes you very much." Yiliangqiu looked at Xiao Yishu and was overjoyed. On one hand, Xiao Yishu was really cute, and on the other hand, she looked like Cher when they were young. Yiliangqiu treated Xiao Yishu well, as if she could make it up to Cher. She knew that after so long, Mu Yun and Cher were married. Cher did not care, but what happened 8 years ago had always been a knot in Yi Liangqiu's heart. So, she spoiled her granddaughter a little too much. At least, Qin Mu had never seen the siblings being so spoiled. She was afraid that it would melt if she kept it in her mouth. She smiled and held Xiao Yishu's little hand. It's probably because of our blood relationship. Xiao Yishu was here. Actually, her brother and Cher could not go anywhere. Yishu's body was here. If they touched something, would they have to draw law and use blood again? The newlyweds just found a resort in B City to enjoy the world of just the two of them. Chapter 2464. Yi Liangqiu held the little baby, and her eyes were always on the little baby's little face. It was really the same as Cher when she was a child. The more she looked at it, the cuter she looked. Yi Liangqiu was such a cold person in the past, but now she was like an ordinary grandmother, kissing her granddaughter again and again. Xiao Yishu was so embarrassed that she buried her little face in Yi Liangqiu's arms. Qin Mu also knew that her mother had taken the little girl to relatives these days and showed her around several times. She was satisfied physically and mentally. Her father had called to complain that he no longer had a sex life. At that time, Qin Mu almost spat out a mouthful of water when she heard it. So, she wanted to come and have a look. At first glance, she found that her mother's enthusiasm was like those cat owners who were addicted to cats. She couldn't help but say, "Mom, let's let go of the past. You don't have to worry about it anymore." Yi Liangqiu held Xiao Yishu and looked at Qin Mu. She sighed slightly. "I know, but I always feel sorry for Cher. You don't have to say anything about your brother, but Cher is really unfair to her. You have felt guilty for so many years." Qin Mu stepped forward and hugged her mother's arm from the side. "Mom, if you want to blame someone, blame me. I'm not sensible." Yi Liangqiu turned her head and looked at her. She didn't know whether she was glad or not. After all, Qin Mu and Zhou Chengwang got along well now. Zhou Chengwang was very concerned about Qin Mu, and there were no flowers and plants outside. Qin Mu looked at her mother and smiled. In such a happy smile, Yi Liangqiu was also redeemed. The mother and daughter were playing Little Yishuwat. While chatting, Yi Liangqiu was most concerned about the relationship between Qin Mu and Zhou Chengwang's mother. After all, the Zhou family and the Qin family still had some conflicts in the past. Qin Mu nodded. "It's okay. It's just..." She bit her lower lip. His mother seems to be very anxious to have a grandson. Then, Qin Mu told her mother the truth. "Mom, didn't Qinshin tell you?" Of course, Qinshin would not hide this kind of thing from her mother. Yi Liangqiu hesitated for a moment and nodded. "I heard it from him." Qin Mu's expression was a little stunned. After a long time, she said, "Mom, Zhou Chengwang said that if he can't get pregnant, he will adopt a child. I'm afraid that his mother will be unhappy." Yi Liangqiu reached out and stroked her long hair. "The key to this matter is Zhou Chengwang's attitude. He must have thought it through. Besides, you and his mother will not be together. You just look at him coldly occasionally, and then you can act coquettishly to Zhou Chengwang. The most important thing for a husband and wife is the relationship between a husband and wife. Of course, the premise is that you still want to live a good life with him." Qin Mu nodded and smiled. Her mood was obviously better. She stayed in the Qin family for a day and talked with her mother about the art gallery. When Yi Liangqiu heard that she was going to run it with Cher, she laughed. "Then you plan to be the shopkeeper alone?" "Mom," Qin Mu said discontentedly, "you can't say that in front of Cher." Yi Liangqiu pinched Xiao Yishu's face and said directly, "It's not Cher's problem. It's your brother's problem. Don't be fooled by your brother's high position and power. In fact, he hasn't been weaned yet." Yi Liangqiu criticized her son without any pressure. Qin Mu laughed. "Mom, my brother will be furious if he hears it." Chapter 2465. Yi Liangqiu was still smiling. "Look at him. He can't wait to keep his wife by his side 24 hours a day. Isn't this a waste of time for Cher?" Although Qin Mu laughed, she still said something fair. "Cher doesn't seem to have any ambitions." Her mother asked with a smile. "Then why did you ask her to cooperate with you?" Well, it was still Jiang Lao who was shrewd. Her mother saw through her in an instant. Qin Mu finally confessed. My brother has a lot of connections. In the future, I will ask Cher to draw a few paintings with a high standard. In order to flatter his wife, my brother will have to spend a lot of money. Yi Liangxiu was annoyed and amused at the same time. You're thinking about your own family. I've never seen you with such a mind before. I have a lot of tricks and schemes. Qin Mu blinked. Seeing her like this, Yi Liangxiu was also satisfied. The two of them chatted and laughed, and the day passed. However, Zhou Chengwang called and said that he would pick her up later. Qin Mu said that it was not necessary, and she went back in the driver's car. When she got home, it was already 8 o'clock. Looking at the parking lot, Zhou Chengwang's car had not come back yet. She took a shower and lay in bed for a long time, reading a book, but he had not come back yet. At 10 o'clock, Qin Mu couldn't help but call, Zhou Chengwang, when are you coming back? Her voice was lingering, with a girl's tenderness. Zhou Chengwang's voice was gentle. I'll be back soon. Be good and go to sleep first. To be honest, Qin Mu was still a little disappointed. She thought that after making up with him, he would be less socialized and at least come home at 8 or 9 o'clock. She didn't know what time it was the first day. However, she had a small temper, and it was not appropriate for her to vent her grievances to him, so she kept silent. On the other side, his voice was low and husky. You wanted to come back early, right? Qin Mu grunted in acknowledgement. All right, I'll try my best to come back as soon as possible. His voice was even gentler, revealing an inexplicable exhaustion. Qin Mu was a little disappointed. It'll take a long time. Soon, be good and sleep early. He coaxed her, not showing the slightest bit of impatience. Qin Mu suddenly became willful. Then take a video and send it to me now. I want to see what the fourth bureau looks like. The man on the other side stopped breathing. After a while, he asked softly, Mumu, if you don't believe me, I just want to see it, she said somewhat unreasonably. At first, she thought that he would be angry, but he didn't. Not only was he not angry, he even took a picture online for her to see. He was indeed in his own office. There was no one around. He was the only one sitting in front of his desk. However, the sofa was still there. Qin Mu's heart was stifled when he saw this, so he quickly hung up. After lying down, she couldn't fall asleep for a while. She tossed and turned, and then she fell asleep in a daze. When Zhou Chengwang came back, it was already 1 o'clock in the night. When he walked in the master bedroom gently, Qin Mu was already asleep. He took off his coat, slowly walked to the bed, sat down, and reached out to caress her little face. She didn't sleep well, and he didn't know if she had cried before she went to bed. A doted little wife would always be a little sentimental, let alone his Mumu. He reached out to touch her little face and whispered, Mumu, I won't hurt you. At this time, she woke up and looked at him with tears in her eyes. Are you back? I'm back. Chapter 2466. Zhou Chengwang still stroked her little face and lowered his head to kiss her. I'll take a shower first. However, Qin Mu did not let him leave. She put her little arms around his neck and said softly, I want to hold you for a while. You became so small all of a sudden. He chuckled in a low voice, but he still satisfied her little wish. He gently hugged her and coaxed her as if he were coaxing a baby. Qin Mu's little face rested on his shoulder. Her expression was a little misty. She hugged him for a long time and did not let go. Zhou Chengwang's voice was a little hoarse. What's wrong with Mumu? Are you angry? He lowered his head to find her lips and kissed her lightly. I won't be so late in the future. Qin Mu did not say anything. She just folded her little face between his chin and neck. Her soft appearance made him unable to bear it any longer. He held her little face and kissed her deeply. However, he still cared about her mood and asked, Mumu, I want you. She did not say anything, but hugged him tighter. Zhou Chengwang followed her direction, pressed her down, and kissed her intensely. As they kissed, his tone changed. He had never been so fierce and rough. At first, Qin Mu was still engrossed, but later, she could not stand it anymore. She raised her head slightly and whispered in his ear, Zhou Chengwang, be gentle. Only then did he understand. Then he pressed his face against hers and let out a deep breath. I'm sorry, Mumu. I lost control. Later, he became gentle, but he was a little absent-minded. Fortunately, Qin Mu was too tired and fell asleep. After a while, the thin sweat had already turned cold, but Zhou Chengwang's body was filled with endless emptiness. He did not take a shower immediately. Instead, he held her in such a posture and felt her existence. His eyes, has been staring at her, did not blink for fear that she will disappear. It was not until his eyes were sore that he closed them and murmured her name, Mumu. He carried her to take a shower. Qin Mu had been asleep the entire time and wasn't very cooperative, but he still insisted on washing her. When they returned to the bedroom, she was asleep, so he carried her and did it twice more. He wanted to give her a child. A child was too important to him. A child should be able to let her stay by his side safely. No matter what happened, she just needed to stay behind him safely. Child. Zhou Chengwang buried his face in her neck. He had never longed for a child so much. Early in the morning, when Qin Mu woke up, Zhou Chengwang was still there. His enlarged, handsome face was right in front of her. Qin Mu blinked and said softly, "When did you come back?" "About 1 o'clock. Like her, he rested his head on the pillow. "We made love. Don't you remember?" Hearing his words, Qin Mu blushed. She looked at him and said, "Don't provoke me if you come back late in the future. I provoke you 3 times. He leaned over and gently rubbed her with the tip of his cold nose. It was very intimate. Qin Mu's eyes widened slightly. "You're shameless." She vaguely remembered that it was only once. "Then I did it myself." She took a step back, and he pressed forward. He had to tease her. "Looking at your little face makes me interested." Qin Mu bit her lips. She couldn't keep up with his pace. Zhou Chengwang smiled and didn't make things difficult for her anymore. Instead, he reached out and pinched her little face. Then he chuckled. "I'll make medicine for you." Chapter 2467. She remembered that he didn't take any protection last night. She was a little worried. Zhou Chengwang patted her little hand. "You still don't trust Qin Shun?" "Qin Shun is a girl," Qin Mu said discontentedly. Zhou Chengwang laughed and rubbed her hair. "But he doesn't think of himself as a woman. He's more handsome than most men." Qin Mu sat on the bed, not knowing whether to laugh or cry. She scratched her hair. "I'll sleep a little longer. I'll ignore you next time you're late." "Got it." His voice was unbelievably gentle. He changed his clothes and went downstairs. Qin Mu was too tired and fell asleep again. When she woke up, she was already in his arms. He fed her the plums and then the medicine, all with the utmost tenderness. After drinking the medicine, she obediently lay in his arms and even showed some concern for President Zhou. "Do you want to take a break this morning?" Zhou Chengwang pursed his lips and smiled. "No need." Qin Mu glanced at him. Her gaze was a little meaningful. "I'm only 28, Mrs. Zhou." He pinched her little face. "I still have this little energy." Qin Mu covered her head with the quilt and refused to speak again. And Zhou Chengwang's expression was a little stunned. Just like that, the days passed. Qin Mu was also a little busy. The gallery had begun to be renovated. Just like her mother thought, she couldn't count on Cher. Her brother was very strict. Xiao Yishu was directly left to her grandmother, and her brother took his new wife to work every day. And her brother didn't feel ashamed. Instead, he felt very happy. Qin Mu sometimes hugged Zhou Chengwang and said that if she didn't do the gallery, she would also go to work with him every day. The next day, Zhou Chengwang really wanted to dig her out. Qin Mu smiled and hugged the quilt, saying that she didn't want to. She didn't want to go out early and come back late. It was so tiring. "So you lied to me, you little liar." Zhou Chengwang carried her in his arms and looked at his watch. "There's still half an hour left." Qin Mu pretended to scream. "What do you want to do?" "Let's make love." He spat out these 2 words very seductively. Then, he pulled off the quilt and threw himself at her, his blood boiling. Qin Mu struggled with all her might. Her pajamas slid open, revealing her soft and fragrant body. He hadn't touched her for a few days, so half an hour might not be enough. He would probably be late. Just as he was about to lose control of himself, Zhou Chengwang's phone rang. 1 sound, 2 sounds. He was still pressing down on Qin Mu, unwilling to stop, unable to. How could a man stop at such a time? If he did, he wouldn't be a man. Qin Mu was a little dazed at first, but she was also ruined by the ringtone. After a while, she came back to her senses and reached out to grab his phone. Zhou Chengwang pressed her with one hand and took the phone with the other. He saw that it was Zhao Zi, so he picked it up. "I'll go to the company in an hour." As he said that, he threw the phone on the ground far away. Qin Mu's voice was intermittent. "You won't have subordinates if you do this. I only need you," he whispered in her ear as he was feeling warm. Qin Mu couldn't do anything to him, and he spent a lot of time igniting her body again. After that, Qin Mu had no strength to lie down, but Zhou Chengwang still boiled medicine for her and made breakfast for her before going to the company. Chapter 2468. At first, Qin Mu was a little dissatisfied, but after a long time, she got used to it. She went to bed early and read for a while before going to bed. Later, she slowly added some books on childcare to the bedside. That night, Zhou Chengwang looked at the book and stared at it for a long time. Then he hugged her. He didn't do anything. He just hugged her and told her that they would definitely have children. Qin Mu pursed her lips and felt that he was a little strange. She poked him with her little hand and said, "Zhou Chengwang." He nodded calmly. "You seem to like children even more than I do," she whispered. He nodded again and said, "I like children that you give birth to." He wanted her to give birth to a little Qin Mu. From an early age, he wanted to dote on this child and make up for what he owed Qin Mu. He wanted to live a good life with her. The absurdities of the past would not happen again, because he loved her so much now, and he would always love her in the future. Qin Mu nodded and said in a low voice, "What if I can't give birth? Then I'll like you." He kissed her forehead and said in a particularly hoarse voice, "Mu, we agreed that it won't change, okay?" She felt a little more at ease and talked to him about her gallery. Although Zhou Chengwang was busy, he still listened to his wife's words carefully. She looked so happy that he could tell that Qin Mu was really happy now. Zhou Chengwang thought that it was fine as long as she was happy. When he went to work, Qin Mu couldn't help but be childish again. In order to keep him, she even took the initiative to make him stay. Zhou Chengwang's soul was gone. He had a good time with her before leaving. Qin Mu slept at home alone until noon. After eating, she drove to see the progress of the gallery in the afternoon. The designer was introduced by Zhou Chengwang. After looking at the drawings, Qin Mu was also very satisfied. She didn't need to worry about anything. After she was done, she went to the shopping center to buy some supplements. She wanted to visit Cher on the way, as she hadn't seen her for half a month. She wanted to take a look at her treasured paintings. Qin Mu put the things in the trunk and was about to open the door when she felt a pain in her lower abdomen. She was in so much pain that she bent over and felt like she was on fire. At this moment, she didn't even have the strength to open the car door, let alone drive. His fingers trembled as he picked up his phone and dialed Zhou Chengwang's number. But his cell phone was switched off. Then, she called his secretary. The secretary answered the phone and said that Zhou Zong was in a meeting and would ask Zhou Zong to call Mrs. Zhou back. Qin Mu's fingers clung to the car door, and her forehead was covered with cold sweat. "Call Zhou Chengwang to come to the phone." The secretary was so scared that she wet her pants. After a long time, she told the truth. "Zhou Zong is not in the company." "So, did Zhou Chengwang ask you to say that?" Qin Mu sneered and smashed the phone, switched off his phone, and lied to her that he was in the company. Where was he? Why was he so busy these days? Qin Mu couldn't help but think about it. At this moment, she realized how difficult it was to maintain a so-called perfect marriage with a man with a criminal record. She had trusted him completely before. When he came back so late, she never thought about anything else. But this phone call, Qin Mu knew that there was definitely something wrong. If there was nothing wrong, he wouldn't switch off his phone, and he wouldn't let the secretary say that he was in a meeting. Qin Mu's stomach was very painful, but she still forced herself to take a taxi. To Glory. Chapter 2469. The chauffeur drove for 2 minutes, and they arrived at Glory. Glory was very different from before. Zhou Chengwang had used 8 years to turn a traditional family business into a tech upstart in B City. The 2 Gemini towers were both 68 stories tall and shone with a cold and noble glow under the sunlight. Qin Mu stood at the bottom of the tower, feeling dizzy. The receptionist recognized her, mainly because Qin Mu had caused a ruckus the last time. Moreover, she had recently heard that Zhou Zong and Madame's relationship was very good, so a divorce was impossible. Thus, she did not dare to be negligent this time, and immediately went forward with a smile. "Madam, are you looking for Zhou Zong?" Just as she finished speaking, she was shocked because Qin Mu's expression was too ugly. Qin Mu pushed the receptionist away. "I'll go up myself." The receptionist was shocked. She wanted to help her up, but did not dare, so she immediately made a phone call to inform the secretary on the top floor. The phone was smashed by Qin Mu. After smashing it, Qin Mu said coldly, "If you dare to move again, I'll try it." As she did all this, she felt an indescribable pain in her lower abdomen. She did not know how she persevered, but she walked into the elevator like a shrew and rushed to the top floor. Qin Mu's heart was in a mess. She even thought about what she would do if she went up at that moment and found out that there was a woman in Zhou Chengwang's office. Would she turn around and leave, or would she scratch his face on spot? She thought that she might do that. However, when she pushed open the door to the office, it was empty inside. Not to mention the scent of a woman, there was not even the scent of a person. Right in front of her was a set of sofas. It was no longer the original set. These days, he had changed everything in the office. He had done what he said. But why did he lie to her? Qin Mu stood there in a daze. Behind her stood Zhou Chengwang's little secretary, who said carefully, "Zhou Zong is not in the office. He might have something urgent." She paused for a moment. "Vice President Zhao is here." Qin Mu suddenly turned around and looked at Zhao Zi, Zhou Chengwang's good friend. Zhao Zi's expression was also not very good. His eyes were locked on Qin Mu's face as he called out to her, "Qin Mu, are you not feeling well?" Qin Mu took a step back to avoid his kindness. Her voice was even colder. "Where is Zhou Chengwang?" "I went out to discuss business," Zhao Zi replied without thinking. His expression was natural. Qin Mu was unmoved. Why did his secretary say he was in a meeting? That's for dealing with other women. The little secretary is used to it and hasn't come back to her senses yet. After all, Chengwang wouldn't take the initiative to mention his private life to his secretary. Zhao Zi replied flawlessly. Qin Mu was speechless. The little secretary nodded furiously. "Yes, that's right. That's right." At this moment, Zhao Zi went up to support Qin Mu. "I'll send you to the hospital." "Qin Mu, don't be willful. Chengwang will be worried." Qin Mu reached out to push him away, but she was too weak and couldn't push him away. She turned and looked at Zhao Zi. "Where is he?" Her woman's intuition told her that Zhao Zi was helping Zhou Chengwang hide something. Zhao Zi smiled. "He's discussing a collaboration. It's not convenient for women to go." "Qin Mu, Chengwang would at most hug you at such a place. He definitely won't do anything else." When he said that, Qin Mu naturally had nothing to say. Besides, she was in so much pain that she couldn't even stand. Chapter 2470. Zhao Zi nodded and carried Qin Mu in his arms. Qin Mu struggled for a while before losing her strength. Her face was pale. The elevator soon arrived at the lobby on the first floor. The secretary held the door for them, but didn't follow them. There were many people in the lobby. They watched President Zhao carry Zhou Zong's wife out of the elevator. They were all silent. New gossip quietly spread within Glory Group. Everyone was guessing whether Mrs. Zhou came today for Zhou Zong or President Zhao. Zhao Zi sat in the car and turned to look at Qin Mu, who was lying in the back seat. He whispered, "Hold on a little longer. I'll go to the nearest hospital." As he spoke, he started the car. The rearview mirror reflected his tense, handsome face, and his fingers that were gripping the steering wheel were pale. He had told Zhou Chengwang before that Qin Mu was the one he liked. Although this was a little provocative to Zhou Chengwang, it was also the truth. Seeing Qin Mu like this, he felt sorry for her. When waiting at the red light, Zhao Zi called Zhou Chengwang, but his phone was still turned off. He cursed, hung up the phone, and focused on driving. 10 minutes later, they arrived at City's First People's Hospital's emergency room. Qin Mu was in so much pain that she couldn't walk. He could only carry her. Anyone who saw them would think that they were husband and wife. "Hold on a little longer." Zhao Zi quickly walked over. His voice was a little low. I use my connections. I can see it immediately. Qin Mu nodded. At this moment, she was still grateful to Zhao Zi because she couldn't stand it anymore. Zhao Zi took the elevator directly to the emergency room on the 4th floor. After getting off the elevator, he quickly walked to the consultation room. Unexpectedly, his footsteps gradually slowed down, and he even turned around to leave. But Qin Mu had already seen it. She saw Zhou Chengwang. She saw Gu Mei, who was 4 or 5 months pregnant. Of course, there was also Mrs. Zhou. They were like a warm family. She stared at Zhou Chengwang, and Zhou Chengwang stared back at her. The surroundings suddenly quietened down. Only he, her, Gu Mei, and Gu Mei's stomach were left. She stared for a long time until her eyes were sore. Then she blinked her teary eyes and asked Zhao Zi softly, "You said that he was discussing a contract with someone and that there might be a young lady sitting beside him. It wouldn't be convenient for me to go. But Zhao Zi, why didn't you tell me that he and Gu Mei had a child? 4 or 5 months. That was when they wanted to divorce. Was it before or after?" Qin Mu tried hard to blink away the tears in her eyes, but the more she blinked, the more she couldn't control. She buried her face in Zhao Zi's shoulder and whispered, "Take me away." However, Zhao Zi could not make the decision on this matter. He liked her, but she was now Chengwang's wife, and Chengwang had no love for Gu Mei. Chengwang was just temporarily passive. He didn't move. Qin Mu's hand hammered on his shoulder and slapped him. "I'm telling you to leave." It was the first time that a proud person like her had lost her composure in public. It was the first time that she did not care about her pride. It was because the blow was too great. Everything in front of her was beyond what she could bear. And that slap on Zhao Zi's face was more like a slap on Zhou Chengwang's face. Zhou Chengwang walked over quickly and said in a low voice, "Mu, what's wrong?" However, Qin Mu had already fainted. Perhaps she was avoiding him, or perhaps she did not want to see him. Her hand fell limply, and she buried her face in Zhao Zi's shoulder. It was as if everything had nothing to do with Zhou Chengwang. Chapter 2471. There was no trace of blood on Zhou Chengwang's face. Naturally, Qin Mu couldn't answer him. Zhao Zi said in a low voice, "Her stomach hurts. It might be gastroenteritis, or worse, she's not pregnant." Zhou Chengwang interrupted Zhao Zi's conjecture and directly carried Qin Mu from his arms. He carried her carefully, as if he was carrying a treasure. Then he walked straight to the emergency room. Behind him, Gu Mei's face was pale. Her hand was on her stomach, and she didn't move at all. Meanwhile, Mama Zhou called out to Zhou Chengwang. "Chengwang, think about it carefully. Compared to Qin Mu, Mama Zhou actually liked Gu Mei more. Gu Mei went to jail for Zhou Chengwang when she was 20 years old. Moreover, Qin Mu's brother indirectly caused old Zhou's death, and Gu Mei had a child. Mama Zhou's heart was clear about this. In her heart, Gu Mei was more suitable for Chengwang now. Not to mention anything else, with Qin Mu's temper, she wouldn't be able to tolerate Gu Mei's child. And Mama Zhou wasn't willing to give up on this child. If Qin Mu didn't have any physiological problems, Mama Zhou wouldn't care too much about this child. However, it was obvious that Qin Mu couldn't give birth to the child. As a traditional old lady, Mama Zhou's little schemes became somewhat reasonable. Even though Mama Zhou said this, Zhou Chengwang didn't even stop. He only hugged Qin Mu and pressed his face against Qin Mu's face. His expression was so gentle, a kind of tenderness that was very painful. Gu Mei was dressed in red. She stood and said softly, "Auntie, don't make things difficult for him." She lowered her head and caressed her stomach. "I just want to give birth to the child. It's fine as long as you bring him up. Nothing else matters." At this moment, Zhao Zi walked over slowly and looked at Gu Mei coldly. "If you really think this way, why did you come back? You could have given birth to this child in France. You could have just said that you gave birth to it with someone else." A few years later, Chengwang and Qin Mu's child might already be a few years old. You and the child's appearance wouldn't change anything. For the sake of the child, Qin Mu wouldn't divorce, but you chose to come back at this time. Gu Mei, do you think anyone would believe that you didn't think of anything? Gu Mei's face was pale. She looked at Zhou Chengwang and said after a long time, You found me. Yes, we found you. If I can't find you, you'll find Qin Mu. Zhao Zi sneered. Gumei, I have really underestimated you. Cheng Wang wanted to abort the child in your womb, and you went to look for his mother. Gumei, what are you trying to do? Force her to abdicate? You want to take the seat that Mrs. Zhou had last week? Gumei shook her head. I didn't. Really? Zhao Zi said word by word. I don't believe a single word you said. If you abort the child now, I'll believe you. Gumei's face turned even worse. She took a step back and covered her stomach with her hand. Zi, why don't you believe me? You know it in your heart. Zhao Zi looked at Mama Zhou. He was very close to Mama Zhou and treated her like another son. He said slowly, Mama Zhou, Cheng Wang loves Qin Mu very much. If you want to divorce Cheng Wang because of this child, you'll destroy him. Really? A few days ago, he saw with his own eyes how good Zhou Cheng Wang's mood was. He couldn't wait to go home every day. Sometimes, he would even order a bouquet of flowers for work. Chapter 2472. This was Cheng Wang's first relationship with a wife who was about to get divorced. They had reconciled, and such a perfect marriage couldn't be ruined because of Gu Mei's willfulness when she left. Zhao Zi couldn't agree to that. Mama Zhou's expression was ugly as she said slowly, I never forced Cheng Wang to get a divorce. But when he found out that Gu Mei was pregnant, he tried to find someone to force her to abort the child. Have you ever thought about why Cheng Wang would do that? Zhao Zi's voice was stern. It's because he knows your attitude, and he can't give up on Qin Mu. He paused and looked at Gu Mei. You said you love him, but you used the child to scheme against him, to possess him in the name of love? Qin Mu loved him in the past, but Qin Mu learned to let go. She gave up on Cheng Wang, but Cheng Wang loved her and refused to divorce her. That's how they got to where they are today. Think about it. Will you be happy with Cheng Wang? If he loved you, he would have loved you long ago. He wouldn't have waited until today. Zhao Zi heaved a sigh. He had probably had enough. Ever since Gu Mei appeared, he and Zhou Cheng Wang felt like they were living in hell every day. Cheng Wang found Gu Mei and offered a high price. He was even willing to give Gu Mei 20% of Rong Wang's shares. Cheng Wang's thinking was simple. As long as the child was gone, Qin Mu wouldn't leave him. That day, he even asked himself if Qin Mu would still follow him if he became a pauper. That day, Zhou Cheng Wang got drunk and said that he didn't dare to go back. He said that when he fed Qin Mu the medicine, he felt guilty. After making love with her, he felt sorry for her, as though he had done it for the sake of the child. That night, Zhou Cheng Wang cried. Zhao Zi then realized how deep his love was. So when the child appeared, Cheng Wang didn't even think about it and decided not to keep the child. After Zhou Cheng Wang said that, Gu Mei's expression was terrible. Her lips trembled and she couldn't say a word. Zhao Zi turned around and left. As he walked, he said, think about it carefully. Gu Mei was still standing there, biting her lips so hard that it was about to bleed. Zhou Kerson's mother went up to support her. Mother Zhou looked at Gu Mei's expression and whispered after a long time. This child is almost 5 months old. It was a baby, and Mother Zhou had secretly asked someone to find out that it was a baby boy. To the Zhou family, boys were the heirs of the family. If Qin Mu couldn't give birth, then this child might be Cheng Wang's only flesh and blood. How could Mother Zhou bear it? She looked at Gu Mei and said carefully, Gu Mei, if you don't want this child, then I'll raise it, okay? Gu Mei turned her head and looked at Mother Zhou. She forced a smile and said, I will not give up on this child. Mother Zhou was in a dilemma. What Zhao Zi said just now was still useful to her. Between her grandson and her son, she still had to weigh the pros and cons. Gu Mei looked at Mother Zhou and said in a low voice, I just want to stay at Auntie's place. Otherwise, Cheng Wang will definitely think of a way to abort this child. Thinking of the tragic state of her grandson being aborted, Mother Zhou's heart trembled. How could she bear it? Her voice trembled slightly. How can this be? The child must be born. Chapter 2473. Gu Mei lowered her head and murmured, She stroked her belly with her fingers, and her mood was a little complicated. She loved Zhou Cheng Wang for so many years. Since he drove her away, she had told herself that this was her last chance. If she had a child, she would come back to him. If she didn't have a child, then she would give up. She had a child, but Qin Mu seemed to be unable to conceive. Wasn't this arranged by God? Gume didn't want to give up such an opportunity. After seeing how well Zhou Chengwang treated Qin Mu, she knew that he also had a heart. She wanted him to treat her like that, and she wanted to be his real wife. She had wanted it for a long, long time. She was the one who met Zhou Chengwang first. Now that she was pregnant with his child, why should she let him have it? She didn't want to give up. She wanted to have him. Their family of 3 would be very good and happy. Zhao Zi rushed to the emergency room. Qin Mu had already been examined. It was acute gastritis. The reason was that Qin Mu took medicine every day and then didn't eat anything. After a few months, even an iron stomach couldn't stand it. When Zhao Zi went over, Qin Mu hadn't woken up yet. Zhou Chengwang asked for a ward and carried her to a single ward. Zhao Zi followed him and said in a low voice, "Chengwang, I'm sorry. I didn't know you were here." There was no expression on Zhou Chengwang's face. He said slowly, "I took Gume to the hospital. She said that she agreed to have an abortion, but she called my mother. My mother just came, and you and Mumu arrived." He paused for a moment and said, "I don't blame you. You didn't do it on purpose." It was possible that this was the fate of him and Mumu, or it could be said that he had done it himself. That night, he could have not gone to see Gume, or he could have said that Gume had drugged him, but he didn't drink it. He knew that it was drugged, but it was because he didn't care about Qin Mu at that time. He just felt that it was nothing to have sex with another woman, which led to today. Zhou Chengwang closed his eyes slightly. "If I can keep Qin Mu, I'm willing to pay any price." Zhao Zi turned his head. "Including your mother?" Zhou Chengwang stopped, but he didn't say anything and walked straight into the ward. The young nurse was busy at the side, hooking up the drip. When she was done, the young nurse left. Just as Zhao Zi was about to speak, Zhou Chengwang softly said, "Zi, you go back first. I want to be alone with her." When she woke up, she would definitely be angry and even do some ugly things. She didn't want others to see this, because she was Qin Mu, the Qin Mu who was rather arrogant in her bones. The things that she liked were all very elegant. She had never seen anything that was not clean. If there was, it was him, Zhou Chengwang. He and Mu, Qin Mu, Qin Shun and Shun Chengwang Mu, come on, Mu. The couple were left alone. Zhou Chengwang reached out and gently stroked Qin Mu's little face. Her face was very cold, and even in her sleep, she was frowning. "Does it hurt?" Zhou Chengwang's voice was low. "Mumu, tell me if it hurts." His voice was almost trembling. "Does it hurt physically or mentally?" Chapter 2474. Only now did he realize what it was like to love someone and what it felt like. If she was in a little pain, he would feel 100 times more pain. Zhou Chengwang knew that the price he had to pay for loving Qin Mu was to be cruel to that child. He had never hesitated, at least not until now. He had no feelings for that child, and he even felt that it was not his child. Because there was no love and no participation, he felt that the child had nothing to do with him. However, Qin Mu would care. Zhou Chengwang had been guarding her, waiting for her to wake up. At this time, he had no time to care about his mother and Gume. His heart was filled with Qin Mu. He was thinking about Qin Mu's first reaction when she woke up and saw him. He was afraid and looking forward to it. When Qin Mu woke up, it was already 3 o'clock in the afternoon. The winter sun shone into the ward through the glass, making Qin Mu's face pale. Qin Mu slowly opened her eyes, and her long eyelashes blinked gently. She felt a little sad. What she saw was Zhou Chengwang's face. It seemed that she hadn't seen him for a long time, and he had become much more haggard. Qin Mu was a little absent-minded. She just looked at him. She hadn't come back to her senses, but tears flowed down from the corners of her eyes. "Zhou Chengwang, let's leave." But before she could finish her words, her lips were blocked by him. Zhou Chengwang blocked her lips. His dark eyes locked on her little face, and his voice was low and hoarse. "Mumu, don't ever say these 2 words out loud, okay? I'll give you time." He lowered his eyes and said these 2 words very softly. "I'm sorry." Qin Mu's tears flowed even more. Drop by drop, They flowed down and stained the pillow. Zhou Chengwang felt that his heart was about to break, and he kept comforting her. Mumu. She didn't say anything, turned her face to the side, and turned her back to him. After a long time, she said softly, Zhou Chengwang, I'm tired. Then you sleep, and I'll watch you, he said, almost cautiously. At this moment, he somewhat understood how she felt at that time. This was probably how she felt when she loved humbly. Qin Mu turned her back. Her tears did not stop. He knew that she had been crying, but he did not dare to disturb her. He was afraid she would say that word again. He couldn't bear to lose her. However, things had to be resolved eventually. No matter how difficult or painful it was, he had to experience it at least once. Half an hour later, he said in a hoarse voice, Qin Mu, this child will not be born. Qin Mu didn't say anything. He didn't say anything else. He just lay down beside her and hugged her from behind. Qin Mu struggled a little, but he hugged her tightly and refused to let go. In the end, she was too weak to struggle against him, but her body was stiff and she resisted. His voice was deep in her ears. Mumu, trust me once. This child was born before. After we got together, I didn't do anything with her or any other woman. She believed his words, because he did not have any contact with any woman after that. She could feel it, but she couldn't accept a child, especially when she tried hard to have a child with him, but another woman had a child. This was a very shameful thing for Qin Mu. What's more, he and his mother were accompanying Gumei to the hospital for a prenatal checkup. Qin Mu suddenly felt that everything was ridiculous. Chapter 2475. She turned her head and didn't want to talk to him. He didn't dare to force her, but he was still uneasy. He didn't dare to leave her for a moment, for fear that she would disappear as soon as he left. He asked in a hoarse voice, Are you hungry? I'll ask someone to bring you food, okay? Qin Mu finally ignored him and said in a tired voice, Zhou Chengwang, call my mother. Her cell phone was broken. Zhou Chengwang was stunned for a moment and immediately understood her intentions. But how could he be willing? Yi Liangxiu would probably come and pick her up. Now that something had happened to them, once she left, she might not come back again. Even if it was painful, he would rather stay in his hands and suffer. Zhou Chengwang's voice was very soft. Mumu, the doctor said that we can go home after the drip. Let's eat something first. I'll cook something delicious for you when we get home, okay? As he spoke, he gently stroked her long hair. Every word, every sentence, and every action of his was filled with humble love. Zhou Chengwang had never loved her before. When he was young, he liked Tangshare because he was young and arrogant, but now, he didn't dare to be arrogant. He hated not to kneel in front of her and beg for forgiveness, but he knew that Qin Mu didn't want this. He could only beg her silently. If she loved him in her heart, she would understand. Qin Mu's tears fell again. She turned her head and looked at him silently. After looking at it for a long time, she asked softly, Zhou Chengwang, is that still our home? Can we still go back? Zhou Chengwang's heart was trembling. He half knelt on the ground, held her waist devoutly, and buried his face in her arms, as if he could enter her heart and know what she was thinking. Time seemed to have stopped. The sun shone on them, but it couldn't warm her or him. As powerful as Zhou Chengwang was, he also had such a powerless time. He said quietly, Mumu, I will take care of it. Qin Mu turned her head. Zhou Chengwang, how are you going to handle this? Abort that child? Or do you pretend that he doesn't exist? After saying that, she raised her head and said softly, No matter how we deal with it, this child really existed. Her voice suddenly became very, very soft. You already knew, didn't you? That's why you fed me medicine every day and made love to me every day. You thought that I wouldn't leave and divorce you because I was pregnant, right? Zhou Chengwang raised his head slightly and looked at her silently. Qin Mu gently wiped his tears and smiled. However, it was a bitter smile. Zhou Chengwang, you indeed understand me very well, but I'm not pregnant. Her voice was soft. Perhaps this is heaven's will. No. He held her close and buried his face in the side of her neck, and in a moment she felt the heat and wetness. Was that Zhou Chengwang crying? Zhou Chengwang closed his eyes slightly and whispered in her ear, "Moo Moo, we will still have children." Qin Mu was a little absent-minded. "Really? We still have children?" Qin Mu's tears fell again. "Zhou Chengwang, now when I look at you, I will think of the process of you making Gu Mei pregnant." Her voice was soft and bitter. "I can't do it, Zhou Chengwang." He buried his head in her neck and raised his voice slightly. He was also a little excited. "Qin Mu, what do you want? Leave me? Leave, huh?" Chapter 2476. Qin Mu didn't say anything. He probably felt that his tone was too forceful, so he softened his voice. "We will be fine and have children." However, he might have said all this just to convince himself that she wouldn't leave him. The doctor came over to check Qin Mu again and said with a smile, "Let's observe her for another night. If there's nothing wrong tonight, she can be discharged tomorrow morning." Zhou Chengwang nodded. After the doctor left, he picked up the dinner that his family had sent over, opened it, and adjusted her bed. Because her stomach wasn't good, she ate very lightly. He spooned some porridge to her mouth and said in a low voice, "Moo Moo, eat something, okay?" Qin Mu looked up at him. She didn't torture her stomach because she was angry with him, but she said lightly, "I'll eat it myself." He didn't force her and silently handed her the spoon. Qin Mu ate very slowly. Her little face was still a little pale, and she didn't feel good eating, but she forced herself to eat, because only by eating would she have the strength to leave him. Zhou Chengwang had been silently watching her eat and silently watching her lie down again. She was very quiet, but as if he didn't exist, as if he was air. He would rather she break the bowl, get angry with him, be angry with him, cry with him, and fight with him. But she was so quiet, and his heart was even more flustered. He stood by the bed and quietly watched her calm little face until she fell asleep because of the medicine. At this time, night fell and the lights were turned on. The blazing white light cast on Zhou Chengwang's face, which looked pale and gloomy. He stood quietly for a long time before going out softly. Now he needed to smoke and calm down. When they reached the corridor, Mo Yan's hands were trembling. At the end of the aisle, the light was dim. He stood there alone, and his back was lonely. When Gu Mei walked over, she saw Zhou Chengwang like this, surrounded by loneliness. She was thinking, was it because Qin Mu ignored him that he was lonely? "Is she okay?" Gu Mei asked softly. In that instant, Zhou Chengwang's body tensed up. He slowly turned his head around, his expression extremely sinister. Even when Gu Mei had accompanied him through the darkness, she had never seen Zhou Chengwang have such an expression. At this moment, he was even angrier than when he was forced to be with Qin Mu. Gu Mei suppressed her anger and raised a bright smile. Longzi finally fell in love with the clean little princess, didn't he? Zhou Chengwang did not make a sound, but continued to stare at her maliciously. Gu Mei almost cried out, "You said that you didn't divorce because you were used to it. I love her." Zhou Chengwang's voice was firm. "Gu Mei, I won't be with you." There was hurt in Gu Mei's eyes. She looked up at the man she had loved for nearly 10 years and said softly, "But we have a child." "So what?" Zhou Chengwang's voice was very cold. "Gu Mei, abort this child, and I can give you money. Other than me, you can have anything you want." Because he was Qin Mu's. Without glory, he could earn glory for Qin Mu again. If not, he would work to support her. As long as she was willing to be with him, he could do anything. And his words completely stunned Gu Mei. Anything except him. Did he love Qin Mu that much? Chapter 2477. "Then I'm sorry. I can't give you anything." His voice was very cold. "Gu Mei, I'll give you a week to think about it. Do you want money or raise this child yourself?" Of course, he could find someone to abort the child, but Zhou Chengwang couldn't do such a thing. Perhaps he could before Qin Mu knew, but now that Qin Mu knew, he couldn't. Gu Mei's face was pale, and she took a step back. And Zhou Chengwang walked past her, towards Qin Mu's ward. His arm was grabbed, and he didn't look at Gu Mei. "Let go." Gu Mei's voice was pleading. "Chengwang, I don't want anything, just like before. I won't disturb her, and I won't ask for status. The existence of you and this child has already disturbed her." Zhou Chengwang narrowed his eyes. "Gu Mei, you won't get any benefits if you insist on doing things your own way." She was stunned, and after a long time, she said in a low voice, "Does this child mean nothing to you?" She took his hand and placed it on her abdomen, saying anxiously, "Zhou Chengwang, feel it. This is your child. He can already move, and he's 5 months old. He's formed. I don't love you, and I don't love him." Zhou Chengwang said coldly, "Gumei, you're on your own." With that, he gently pulled her hand away and left without looking back. Gumei stood there, her whole body cold. She suddenly covered her face, and tears flowed down from between her fingers. "Zhou Chengwang, if I could give up, I wouldn't have come to this today. If I could give up, why would I go to jail for you? I don't want what you said." Gumei slowly let go of her hand, and her thin fingers placed on her abdomen. She suddenly smiled. "Zhou Chengwang, if you don't want to give it to me, I can only take it myself." The child she was pregnant with was really timely, and she couldn't be more clear about Qin Mu's personality. Gumei left and returned to live with Zhou Chengwang's mother. This matter quickly became a gossip, and there was an uproar in B City. Perhaps this was what Gumei wanted. That night, Yi Muyun came over, called Zhou Chengwang to the corridor, and gave him a few punches. Zhou Chengwang's body was thrown against the wall, and the sound was so loud that it sounded like it was going to break a person. Beside him, Cher covered her mouth, and she didn't dare to make a sound. "Go to the ward," Yi Muyun said to his little wife in a deep voice. Then he grabbed Zhou Chengwang's collar with both hands and gave him another round of punches. Cher wanted to stop him, but when she saw that Zhou Chengwang had no intention of fighting back, she whispered to her husband, "Don't kill him." In the dark corridor, Zhou Chengwang's body was about to fall apart. He leaned against the wall, panting. His forehead and the corner of his mouth were covered in blood. In the dark passageway, Zhou Chengwang's body was about to fall apart. He leaned against the wall and gasped for breath. His forehead and the corner of his mouth were covered in blood. "Not only did you have an affair in marriage, you even had a child with Gumei. Before Gumei was sent away, you and Qin Mu fought, and then you even slept with Gumei?" But Yi Muyun still felt that it wasn't enough. He narrowed his eyes and looked at the man in front of him. "You're very promising. Not only did you have an affair in marriage, you even had a child with Gumei. Before Gumei was sent away, you and Qin Mu fought, and then you even slept with Gumei?" He apologized twice today, once to Qin Mu, and the other time to Qin Mu's brother. He was proud, but he knew that if Yi Muyun wanted to take Qin Mu away, he wouldn't have a chance. Chapter 2478. Zhou Chengwang supported himself against the wall and stood up slowly. He looked at Yi Muyun and looked straight into Yi Muyun's eyes. Then his body slowly knelt down. With his head down, he knelt down. At this moment, he abandoned all his self-esteem and pride for the sake of love. If Zhou Chengwang's world could only have Qin Mu, then he didn't want anything else. He only wanted Qin Mu. Mr. Yi was obviously shocked. He didn't expect Zhou Chengwang to be like this. Back then, when this brat's father left, he also hardened his bones and wasn't willing to beg him. He even did such a crazy thing, playing a life and death struggle. Even the young and vigorous Yi Muyun couldn't win against his treachery. But now, because of Qin Mu, Zhou Chengwang knelt down. The person who knelt in front of him was not Zhou Chengwang, but a desperate man. And little Cher stood not far away, covering her mouth, and her eyes were full of disbelief. Yi Muyun looked at his little wife, whose eyes were full of tears. Obviously, the pregnant woman was soft-hearted and sentimental. Mr. Yi wanted to harden his heart, but he found that he was powerless in the face of Zhou Chengwang. He couldn't beat him, and he couldn't scold him. Because Zhou Chengwang was so humble, he fell into the dust and lowered his attitude. Yi Muyun slowly smoked a cigarette and leaned against the opposite wall. He didn't let him think about it, but just asked in a low voice, "What are you going to do?" His voice was cold and ruthless. "Zhou Chengwang, think carefully. Qin Mu may be infertile, and Qin Mu's child may be your only child. Think carefully before you go to Qin Mu." He paused for a while. "Qin Mu can't stand the torment anymore. You know her illness. If you can't give her everything, then don't give her anything. I know my sister very well. Although it's hard, she can get through it." Zhou Chengwang was still kneeling, and his voice was hoarse. "I will give her everything. Yun was still leaning in the same place, smoking a cigarette quietly, while Zhou Chengwang was kneeling and smoking. There were nurses coming and going around, looking at them curiously. Zhou Chengwang was, after all, a celebrity. The nurses were shocked to see him kneeling there so shamelessly. Some of them even secretly took a photo. Zhou Chengwang was a celebrity, but he didn't care about anything else. He didn't care about anything except Qin Mu now. If it could make her feel better, he was willing to do it. After the time it took to smoke a cigarette, Yun's voice was very indifferent. He wasn't talking to Zhou Chengwang, but to his little wife who was overflowing with love. Shuera, come here, it's time to go home. Cher moved over and looked up, saying slowly, I want to wait for Qin Mu to wake up. Yun sighed and rubbed her hair. At this time, she won't want to see anyone. She's a little girl who cares about her face. Still, he knew his younger sister very well. Oh, little Cher replied, completely returning to the silly and adorable childhood, and left with Yun obediently. Zhou Chengwang was still kneeling on the ground. As soon as the elevator closed, he immediately covered his lower abdomen and fell to the ground in the elevator. Cher looked at her brother and said in a small voice, Will Zhou Chengwang die? He won't die, but he will vomit to death. Mr. Yi said leisurely, He will vomit to death how he fell in love with a fool like you in the past. Cher almost jumped up. How am I stupid? I'm much smarter now. Mr. Yi nodded in agreement. That's because the child in your belly has integrated your IQ. Cher was speechless. Chapter 2479. In the corridor in front of the ward, Zhou Chengwang was lying on the ground and groaning in pain. He almost suspected that he had suffered internal injuries. Mr. Ye's wife is pregnant. How strong is a man who can't satisfy her? Zhou Chengwang lay there for a long time before he felt a little better. He propped himself up bit by bit and walked into the ward slowly. Under the dim yellow light, Qin Mu was sleeping soundly. Just by looking at her like this, he felt that it wasn't that painful anymore. He propped himself up and leaned against the bed, watching over her and their shaky marriage. Under the light, his face was as pale as a piece of paper. He should go to the doctor, but he was not in the mood. He wondered if Qin Mu would cry if he collapsed tomorrow. Would she shed tears for him? However, he couldn't collapse because he was afraid that she would cry. He had said that he would protect her well. Zhou Chengwang covered his face, smiled bitterly and helplessly, and sat like this for the whole night. That night, the photo of him kneeling down was known by everyone. Everyone knew that he had an affair and had an illegitimate child. The entrance of Qin Garden was surrounded by reporters. His mother had called him countless times, asking him to go home to deal with it. But Zhou Chengwang only said that he had to accompany Qin Mu. This made Mrs. Zhou unhappy. Aren't you worried about Gomei? She is very emotional now. Zhou Chengwang was disheartened. Mom, are you worried about your son? Mrs. Zhou was stunned. Zhou Chengwang had hung up the phone. He couldn't deal with anything else. He just wanted to be with Qin Mu. He didn't even care about his reputation or status. He didn't even care about his glory. If the stock price fell, then so be it. If it fell, then he could shamelessly cling to her. Zhou Chengwang hung up the phone and returned to the bed to watch over Qin Mu. He looked at her calm little face and reached out to caress her face reluctantly. It had only been a day, but why did he feel that she had lost weight? His body sank a little as he hugged her. He smiled bleakly. At this moment, he did not even dare to hug her. This night was so long for Zhou Chengwang. He kept looking out the window, but he couldn't see a single ray of light. His eyes were already sore from watching, but there was still no sign of him. Perhaps, just like this, he didn't want to wait anymore. He wanted to be with her forever. At this moment, everything stopped. He slowly moved his face closer to hers and closed his eyes. At dawn, Qin Mu was in his arms. His embrace was not warm. Instead, it was somewhat cold. She didn't open her eyes. Instead, she took a deep breath and smelled the scent of tobacco and blood on his body. She was stunned for a moment, but still slowly opened her eyes. The first thing she saw was Zhou Chengwang's injured face. Qin Mu blinked. She felt sour and bitter. After a long while, she came back to her senses. Let go. There was no emotion in her voice, nor was there any warmth. Zhou Chengwang's eyes narrowed. There was a trace of hurt in his eyes. He didn't let go. Instead, he asked in a hoarse voice, "Aren't you going to ask me where I got this injury?" Qin Mu didn't speak. She lowered her eyes and didn't look at him. Zhou Chengwang didn't care about his face anymore. He wouldn't keep her in suspense. He said in a low voice, "Your brother came and beat me up." Of course, he left out the detail of him kneeling down. Chapter 2480. As she spoke, she struggled to get up, but her hand was caught by him and her body was pulled closer. She was in his arms. When she looked up, she saw his tense and embarrassed chin and his green stubble. Qin Mu's voice was a little cold. "Zhou Chengwang, are you crazy? Let go of me." "Yes, I'm going crazy." Zhou Chengwang's voice carried a hint of a growl. Then he hugged her and lowered his head to kiss her. Of course, Qin Mu was unwilling. After a moment of daze, she struggled desperately. She hit his shoulder with her little hands and shook her head hard, trying to get rid of him. However, the power of a man and a woman was so distinct. Not only could she not get rid of him, but he also pried open her lips and kissed her deeply. He was very eager, as if he was looking for something, as if he wanted to prove something. Just like that, he was eager to get her to respond. He used all his skills, but Qin Mu was still indifferent. When he opened his eyes, what he saw was her clear and cold eyes. She looked at him so coldly without moving her eyes at all. Zhou Chengwang suddenly sobered up, and then he smiled desolately. How could he be so naive to think that she would be willing to be touched by him? "Mumu, I'll wait." He held her in his arms. "You wait for me, okay?" Qin Mu was held so tightly in his arms that she could smell the smell of blood. She knew that he was not feeling well. It must be very painful. She said softly, "Zhou Chengwang, it's not that I don't know what's good for me. I also know how you feel about me now." She paused for a moment and said in a softer voice, "But you should also know that this matter can't be settled with me." Zhou Chengwang clenched his hands and said in a suppressed voice, "I know, Mumu. I know." "If you know, then let go." Qin Mu's voice sounded very cold. "Then let's get a divorce, okay? Zhou Chengwang, I'm begging you." After she finished speaking, his body froze and his face was also shocked. Qin Mu begged him. He hadn't loved her then, and she hadn't begged him to love her. Now, they were in love, and she was begging him to let go. Every movement of his facial muscles was so twisted, so strange. He spoke very slowly, and every word seemed to knock on her heart. "Qin Mu, unless I die, I won't let you go. Otherwise, I won't get a divorce." As soon as he finished speaking, a slap landed on his face. His face was bruised even more, but he did not seem to mind, and continued to look into her eyes. "Zhou Chengwang, it's hard for me to love you again." Qin Mu said softly. These words were a complete blow to him. His face was as white as paper, and his tall body swayed slightly. However, in the end, he only smiled gently and said, "I'll go find a doctor. If there's nothing else, I'll bring you home." He paused for a moment before continuing, "Your brother has agreed to let me take you back. Even though the price is a little expensive," he thought to himself. Qin Mu was so angry that she was trembling. When Zhou Chengwang went out, Qin Mu immediately got up and wanted to leave, but there were already 2 men in black guarding the door. They said respectfully, "Madam, Zhou Zong asked you to wait here for a moment." Qin Mu closed the door expressionlessly and returned to the bed. She knew that she couldn't leave. Of course, she could also call her brother, but she didn't want her brother to show up about her and Zhou Chengwang. Chapter 2481. But the doctor looked at Zhou Chengwang and coughed lightly. "Zhou Zong, do you want to treat your injury?" Zhou Chengwang wasn't in the mood, so he refused. "I'll go back and apply some medicine on my own." The doctor smiled and didn't say much, but he was secretly thinking that the relationship between Zhou Zong and his wife wasn't that good. Or maybe one of them was hot. Zhou Zong had gastroenteritis. Zhou Zong was so nervous, and Mrs. Zhou didn't react at all when Zhou Zong was beaten up. But it was no wonder. Zhou Zong got a woman pregnant outside, and Mrs. Zhou still felt sorry for him. That would be stupid. After Zhou Chengwang finished speaking, He packed up his things. Actually, there wasn't much to pack. The main thing was to pack up Qin Mu and take her away. Thinking of this, Zhou Chengwang felt a little better. He draped his jacket over her and buttoned it up one by one. When he did all this, he felt that he could hold on to her tightly as he buttoned it up. Qin Mu didn't resist and let him do it for her. But when he held her hand, she instinctively moved away. Zhou Chengwang's eyes hurt. His thin lips pressed into a straight line, and in the end, he put his hands in his pockets and didn't force her. The car was driven by Zhao Zi. Qin Mu didn't care about Zhou Chengwang, and she didn't care about Zhao Zi either. She knew in her heart that Zhao Zi had known about Gu Mei's pregnancy for a long time, and he had been helping Zhou Chengwang. She leaned her head to the side and looked out the car window quietly. Probably to ease the atmosphere, Zhao Zi said a lot of things. It was nothing more than New Year's Eve, and they could go abroad for fun. But after talking for a long time, it was still a one-man show. Qin Mu didn't say anything at all. Zhao Zi glanced at Zhou Chengwang in the rearview mirror and thought to himself, "Brother, I can't help you this time. The matter is too big. Even a woman can't accept it, let alone Qin Mu. Qin Mu, the little princess of the Qin family, is going to divorce you." Zhou Chengwang didn't say anything because whatever he said now would be wrong. Besides, he didn't want to be slapped by Qin Mu in front of Zi. When the car arrived at the villa, Qin Mu got off the car first. Zhou Chengwang followed him out of the car. Zhao Zi opened the car door. "Chengwang." Zhou Chengwang turned sideways. Zhao Zi smiled faintly. "Bear with it." Zhou Chengwang reached out to cover his face that was slapped. He cursed in a low voice and followed Qin Mu. The smile on Zhao Zi's face disappeared. He looked at Zhou Chengwang's back with a thoughtful expression. Chengwang had been living a smooth life. There were only two obstacles until now. One was 8 years ago, and the other was now. This time, he didn't know whether Chengwang could get through it. He didn't dare to think about what Chengwang would do if Qin Mu insisted on leaving. In his eyes, Gu Mei was extremely stupid. Was it meaningful to force a man who didn't love her to accept her and give birth to a child? Even if Zhou Chengwang and Qin Mu couldn't be together in the end, that person would definitely not be Gu Mei. Zhao Zi pursed his lips and started the car to leave first. This time was different from the last time. He didn't want to take advantage of the situation because Zhou Chengwang loved Qin Mu. On the second floor of the villa, Zhou Chengwang gently pushed open the bedroom door and saw Qin Mu packing her luggage. She moved quickly. A big box was filled with her belongings. She didn't take the clothes she bought after marriage. What she packed were some of her belongings when she was a girl. Chapter 2482. He walked over gently. Qin Mu was bending over to close the box when he hugged her from behind. Zhou Chengwang hugged her waist with his arms and buried his face in her neck. "Mu, I'm sorry. Perhaps because this was their bedroom, he slid down to the carpet with her in his arms. He half knelt down and hugged her humbly. Qin Mu was held tightly by him and couldn't move at all. She raised her head and took a deep breath. "Zhou Chengwang, don't think that kneeling is useful. If kneeling is useful, there's no need to forgive me. I know it's useless." His voice was deep. He buried his face, and his lips were pressed against the skin of her neck, as if he was closer to her. His voice became deeper. "Mu, don't go. How do you think I can stay?" Qin Mu suddenly broke free from him and half knelt down to look at him. "Zhou Chengwang, I'm also a woman, and I have my own consciousness. It's fine if you don't love me, but if you have a child with someone else," she took a deep breath and said, "I'm sorry, but I can't continue." His dark eyes were filled with pain. "I said that I would get rid of the child, even if I had to pay any price. Zhou Chengwang, what makes you think that I, Qin Mu, would be willing to follow a poor man?" She looked straight at him and said cruelly. He wanted to hug her, but he was actually timid. "That's it. Let's part on good terms." Qin Mu propped up one leg and wanted to get up. Zhou Chengwang's voice was gentle. "Qin Mu, you can't leave. There are more than 10 bodyguards guarding this villa." Qin Mu's leg stopped, and she looked at him. As he wished, he received another slap on his handsome face. This time, it was a solid slap. Qin Mu looked at him. "You're despicable." Zhou Chengwang pursed his lips tightly. There was a faint trace of blood on his handsome face. It was Qin Mu who had hit him. Slowly, he forced a smile. "Have you calmed down a little?" Qin Mu was still staring at him, coldly spitting out 2 words, "What do you think?" Zhou Chengwang didn't say anything. He just looked at her with pain in his eyes. Suddenly, he took off his sweater. Qin Mu took a step back. "What are you trying to do?" Zhou Chengwang squinted at her. "Apply the medicine. Do you want to clean it for me?" Of course, Qin Mu wouldn't. She bit her lip and looked at him, not saying a word. Zhou Chengwang was only wearing trousers. He walked to the drawer and took out a tube of ointment. He took it over and applied it in front of the mirror. Qin Mu's gaze followed his movements and landed on him. Zhou Chengwang's expression wasn't very good because of the pain. After he finished applying it, he turned his head to look at Qin Mu and said calmly, "It has nothing to do with you, does it?" Qin Mu didn't say anything, then turned around and walked outside. He hugged her from behind again, and his whole body was covered in the smell of ointment. "Mumu, I'm very scared." He buried his face in her neck and said in a low voice, "Do you really not love me at all?" His voice became hoarse. "Tell me, what do I have to do to make you willing to stay and love me again?" Qin Mu's body stiffened. After a long while, she turned her head and looked at him calmly. "Do you think I can still love you?" Zhou Chengwang tightened his arms and didn't say anything. He just stuck close to her. After enduring for a long time, Qin Mu finally couldn't help but say, "Zhou Chengwang, have you had enough?" "Not enough." He suddenly turned her body around and kissed her lips hard. Chapter 2483. He kissed her fiercely, almost desperately. Qin Mu struggled, kicked him, and hit him, but it was useless. Zhou Chengwang seemed to have steeled his heart to flatten her no matter what. With a cracking sound, Qin Mu closed her eyes slightly and said in a trembling voice, "Zhou Chengwang, do you know what you're doing?" Her eyes were bloodshot, and her voice was filled with unprecedented despair. "Don't make me hate you." He gritted his teeth. "You already hate me now, don't you?" As he said that, he was about to force her to come. Qin Mu closed her eyes and did not resist anymore. However, she did not give him any reaction. She lay under him as if she had lost her life, crying. Zhou Chengwang was shocked by that tear. His heart trembled, and his voice was hoarse and helpless. "Qin Mu, Mumu, what's wrong with you?" He reached out to wipe her tears, but she turned her face to the side and did not let him touch it. She twisted her face and said softly, "Zhou Chengwang, I don't want to make love to you. Without love, what else can I do?" He maintained the posture just now, and his expression was decadent. It seemed that the high-spirited Zhou's zone had disappeared in an instant. All that was left was disappointment. In the end, he left her body and did not force her. Qin Mu fell on the sofa, was picked up by him, and gently placed on the bed. He kissed her and said softly, "I'll go downstairs and boil the medicine for you." At that moment, Qin Mu felt that the blood in her body had frozen. Did she still need to drink medicine now? She did not make a sound and just lay there quietly, and he felt that she was willing. So she was very obedient and did not make any more trouble. Zhou Chengwang reached out to rub her long hair and said in a low voice, "Wait for me." He turned around and left, but he did not see the coldness in her eyes. After half an hour, Zhou Chengwang came over with a bowl of medicine. Qin Mu was still lying on the bed. He sat beside her and said softly, "Mumu, I won't drink it." Qin Mu's voice was very light, as she turned her head to look at him. Zhou Chengwang's voice became gentler. "Mumu, be good." He helped her up, but Qin Mu reached out and knocked the bowl out of his hand. The medicine was all over the floor, on the blanket, on his body, and on his face. The bitter medicine flowed down his cheeks bit by bit, making him look extremely pathetic. Qin Mu's heart was pounding violently. She looked at him and said, "Zhou Chengwang, I said I don't want to drink anymore. Do you hear me?" He still did not make a sound. Qin Mu's heart heaved violently. She looked at him, and then, as if she had gone crazy, she smashed everything in the room that could be smashed. The sound of shattering came one after another, causing people to tremble in fear. However, Zhou Chengwang was still very calm and let her smash it. After smashing it, the bedroom was in a mess. She stood face to face with him, standing in the place where they used to be incomparably loving. But at this moment, it seemed that there was nothing but hostility. After a while, Zhou Chengwang squeezed out a smile. Moo Moo, have you calmed down a little? Qin Mu's voice was so hoarse that it was almost a low roar. Zhou Chengwang, I've had enough. After saying that, her face was already covered in tears. She had never lost her composure like this, not even when she was about to get a divorce. Zhou Chengwang could hardly breathe. He wanted to reach out and hold her in his arms, but he did not move at all. Chapter 2484. Qin Mu screamed, Zhou Chengwang, don't force me anymore. I'll die. He was stunned. After a long time, he asked her softly in a hoarse voice, Mu, do you think you'll die if you're with me? Qin Mu didn't say anything. She just looked at him with tears in her eyes. Zhou Chengwang made up his mind and narrowed his eyes. Then let's die together. With that, he picked her up and walked to the door. Qin Mu struggled, but he held her and said in a low voice, if you don't want to get hurt, you'd better change to another bedroom. He carried her to the guest room and put her on the sofa. Qin Mu was still trembling. Her face was covered in tears, and she was only wearing a nightgown. Zhou Chengwang squatted down and carefully examined her bare feet. Then he looked up and said softly, there's some broken glass on your feet. Qin Mu turned her face away. Obviously, she still didn't want to talk to him. Zhou Chengwang smiled gently. I'll help you get the glass out. It might hurt a little. Bear with it. Qin Mu looked away. His eyes were locked on her, and then he lowered his head. He didn't want to use the needle to pick it up, but chose to suck the glass out with his mouth. When he did this, Qin Mu suddenly retracted her feet. Zhou Chengwang's fingers held her in place. He looked up with a meaningful gaze and then lowered his head again. He spat out the glass, but didn't let go of her immediately. Instead, he continued to kiss her. Qin Mu's eyes narrowed and her body shrank back, but she couldn't break free at all. She couldn't help crying and calling him a pervert. Zhou Chengwang kissed her humbly. She didn't let him touch her, so he could only touch her feet. Yes, she was right. He was a pervert now. Zhou Chengwang didn't care. In the end, he sighed dejectedly. The soles of Qin Mu's feet were bleeding, mixed with his embarrassment. When their eyes met, she gave him another slap. His face was slightly red. Other than being hit by her, it was also because he felt uncomfortable. Since when had he, Zhou Chengwang, been in such a sorry state? He had actually done such a thing and was despised so much. After the fight, Qin Mu began to limp out. Zhou Chengwang pursed his lips and reached out to hold her. Are you crazy? Your foot is bleeding. Qin Mu's voice was low and hoarse. It's nothing compared to before. He was speechless for a moment and then apologized in a low voice. Mu Mu, I'm sorry. Qin Mu looked at him. Do you think it's useful to say sorry? Otherwise? His voice was as deep as water. Otherwise, I'll let you go. Perhaps I'm fulfilling your wish. Qin Mu sighed. Zhou Chengwang, perhaps what you want is a woman like Guomei, who treats you like the sky and gives in without principles. He frowned and stared at her without blinking. After a long time, he said in a low voice, Do you think so? Qin Mu didn't answer. Zhou Chengwang laughed coldly. Qin Mu, you think our relationship is nothing, don't you? Her heart trembled. He asked again in a hoarse voice. This time, his voice was a little stern. In your heart, it's nothing, right? Qin Mu's lips moved, but in the end, she couldn't say a word. Chapter 2485. Qin Mu looked at him and said in a low voice after a long time, What about you? What do you want me to do? Zhou Chengwang, tell me, what do you want me to do? Pretend that nothing has happened, continue to live together, continue to take the medicine, and continue to have children with you? As she spoke, her face was covered with tears. Aren't you being too much of a bully? Zhou Chengwang couldn't deny this. He stepped forward and held her shoulder. Mu Mu, it will definitely be solved. We will get better. He hugged her and said in a low voice, As long as you are willing to forget these things, we will definitely get better. He paused for a moment. If you don't want to have children for the time being, we can stop doing it, okay? Now, as long as she didn't leave him, he was willing to do anything. Qin Mu pursed her lips and shook her head desperately. I don't know. Zhou Chengwang, let me calm down. Gumei, the child, she was caught off guard. At that time, her first thought was to leave him. She hit him and scolded him. She scolded him very harshly, but he didn't let go. Wouldn't it be better for everyone to be decisive? He held his child and had a complete family. Why bother pestering her? Qin Mu took a step back and thought in despair that maybe she really didn't love him as much as she thought. So when something happened, she wanted to escape and not let herself get hurt. And she really didn't think about his position in this matter and his passive position in this matter. Was this the price he had to pay for what he had done in the past? Qin Mu was stunned for a moment and didn't come back to his senses for a long time. He just raised his head and looked at him. A drop of tears in her eyes, a trace of softness in her eyes, softened his whole heart. His voice was gentle and hoarse. Mumu, you should have a good rest. Be good. He reached out to pick her up and carried her back to the bed. He checked her feet and finally went to wring a hot towel to clean her feet before carefully wrapping them with gauze. Qin Mu was no longer able to resist. She lay down obediently and looked up at the ceiling. When he was done, he lifted his body and turned over. He held her little face with his big palm and kissed the corner of her mouth lightly. Mumu, be a good girl at home. I will solve the problem. With that, he buried his face in her hair and made no other movement. She raised her head and felt his light breathing. For a long time, she thought he was asleep, but he wasn't. After a long time, she heard his hoarse voice. Mumu, I can't lose you. I'll die too. Qin Mu's heart skipped a beat, and she couldn't come back to her senses for a long time. He lay with her for a while before slowly getting up. Qin Mu heard the sound of him showering and the sound of the changing room door being opened. It was as if he was afraid of disturbing her. After about 10 minutes, Zhou Chengwang came out and stood by the bed. He leaned down and kissed her forehead, his eyes fixed on her little face. Qin Mu closed her eyes and ignored him. Zhou Chengwang knew that she was awake, so he said in a low voice, I'll come back before noon to eat with you. As he said that, he gently brushed her little face with his hand. He felt that it was fluffy, like a child's, and his heart softened a little. But when he turned around, his heart hardened again. When the door closed, Qin Mu's tears fell. Chapter 2486. She couldn't see his kindness to her, his repentance, and his compensation. She wanted to leave, but she also cared about him. Yes, she still cared about him. How could she not care about him? A child disappointed her, but it was definitely not like what he said. He said that she didn't care about him at all. If love disappeared so easily, it wouldn't be love. Qin Mu laid on the bed and closed her eyes. She didn't have any strength left after all this torture. Slowly, she fell asleep. Downstairs, Zhou Chengwang was about to drive out, but the servants at home had already informed him that the old lady was here. Zhou Chengwang knew that his mother was here. She probably wanted to talk about the child in Gumei's belly. He slowly walked down the stairs and sat down on the sofa. Mrs. Zhou looked at her son with a complicated expression. Chengwang, what are you thinking? Zhou Chengwang wiped his face, leaned his head against the back of the sofa, and said calmly, abort the child. Mrs. Zhou's face suddenly changed. What if Qin Mu can't give birth? Zhou Chengwang didn't say anything. He just looked down at his mother. Mrs. Zhou continued, Chengwang, you must have child. Qin Mu and I will have our own child. Zhou Chengwang's voice was soft but firm. Mrs. Zhou suddenly got angry. Then tell me, is Qin Mu willing to give birth to your child? Has she recovered from her illness? Zhou Chengwang frowned. Mom, now is not the time to talk about this. It's unfair to Qin Mu. He smiled bitterly. It's my fault. I let Mumu down. Even if I don't have a child in the end, it's what I should do. When he said that, Mother Zhou's heart ached a little. She sighed softly. I know you like Qin Mu, and the two of you have been very close recently. However, the child in Gumei's tummy is your flesh and blood. The ultrasound is out, and the small eyes and nose have all grown back. She looks very complete, and she looks exactly like you when you were young. Her tone was full of pity. Zhou Chengwang burst into laughter. Mom, how can you say that? How can you tell? Mother Zhou suddenly wiped her tears and sighed softly. Chongwang, you don't know that your father and I have been looking forward to you growing up, getting married, and having a grandson for us. Your father left early and can't see you. Can you bear to let me not see you? Zhou Chongwang let out a long sigh. Mom, be reasonable. Have you thought about what it means for Gumei to give birth to a child? Mrs. Zhou hesitated. She was testing her son's idea, and her son's attitude was obvious. Mrs. Zhou had a plan in her heart. She hesitated for a while and said softly, Chongwang, I have an idea. Let Gumei give birth to the child and let Qin Mu raise it. I don't mean that. I just want Qin Mu to be the mother of the child. As long as we don't say anything, the child won't know. Zhou Chongwang narrowed his eyes. Mrs. Zhou continued to persuade him. Qin Mu, she should know her own body. I think she won't mind. When Zhou Chongwang was about to speak, Qin Mu's voice came from the stairs. I'm sorry, Mrs. Zhou. I mind. Both Zhou Chongwang and Mrs. Zhou were shocked, especially when Mrs. Zhou looked up and saw Qin Mu. She looked uncomfortable. Chapter 2487. Zhou Chongwang's eyes were full of shock. These were not his original intentions, but when Qin Mu heard it, she would be so disappointed with this family. He didn't even dare to think about whether Qin Mu would become tough again because of his mother's words. Mu, this won't happen. He immediately got up and quickly walked to the middle of the stairs. He wanted to hug her, but Qin Mu reached out and pushed him away. Her face was cold, not only to him but also to his mother. This was what made Zhou Chongwang most afraid, because Mu didn't care about anything anymore. Sure enough, Qin Mu pushed him away and slowly walked downstairs. Zhou Chongwang subconsciously reached out to grab her. Qin Mu, he knew what she wanted to say and do, and he wouldn't allow her to do that. In his heart, he still wanted to keep this family intact. He didn't want to lose Qin Mu, but he didn't want to embarrass his mother either. He hoped that he could communicate with his mother. The result of the battle between the two women would definitely be that both sides would suffer. Qin Mu turned her head, looked at him quietly, and then smiled. You're afraid, aren't you? Zhou Chongwang pursed his lips. Yes, I'm afraid. Mu, go upstairs. We'll talk later. Qin Mu looked at him, then at Mrs. Zhou, and took a step back. When you slept with Gumei, did you discuss it with me? When you slept with Lin Shui and countless women, did you care about me? She looked at Mrs. Zhou again. I'll tell you now. I mind. Not only do I mind, but I also can't tolerate it. If it's a child picked up, I can give him the same love as my own, but it's a child born from my husband's affair. I'm sorry, Qin Mu, am not that generous. She smiled coldly and looked at them coldly. Mother Zhou's face turned white and then red. After a long time, she said, Qin Mu, don't be so full of yourself. If you can't give birth one day, you will feel how precious this child is. You will regret it. Her tone softened again. I don't want Chongwang to divorce you. You're still his wife. Qin Mu smiled slightly. If it were you, would you be willing to accept the child of a woman whose husband is outside? Mother Zhou's face sank. If I can't give birth, I will accept it. Mom. Zhou Chongwang's voice was stern. Don't say any more. Qin Mu was not angry. Instead, she smiled. However, her face was very pale. She said softly, Zhou Chongwang, do you see that? It's all your wishful thinking. Your mother and I both feel that there's no need for our marriage to continue. Mama Zhou felt aggrieved. She didn't want to take the blame, so she pursed her lips and said softly, Chongwang, I don't mean that. Zhou Chongwang gave her a comforting look and said softly, Mom, you go back first. I'll solve the problem between me and Qin Mu, okay? But Mama Zhou was still worried. She came here today to see Qin Mu. She wanted Qin Mu to agree to keep the child. The key wasn't Chongwang. In fact, Chongwang didn't care. The key was Qin Mu. Gumei, Mama Zhou actually didn't care. The main thing was her grandson. The main thing was that Qin Mu couldn't get pregnant. That was why Mama Zhou cared so much about this child. Chapter 2488. Mrs. Zhou stood up slowly and looked at Qin Mu. Are you really not willing to accept this child? Qin Mu's lips moved slightly. Zhou Chengwang's voice was a little harsh. Mom, I said I won't accept this child. He is already a 5-month-old boy. Mrs. Zhou emphasized. Zhou Chengwang was speechless for a while. He didn't know how to say to his mother. Qin Mu sneered. I can lose everything, but I can't lose myself. She looked at Zhou Chengwang and walked upstairs slowly, ignoring them. Zhou Chengwang grabbed her hand and said in a low voice, Qin Mu, this is not what I mean. Qin Mu's eyes were calm, and her tone was very gentle. But, Zhou Chengwang, you are carrying too much on your shoulders. She was actually a little disappointed. She knew that she could only be disappointed and couldn't argue with him. He cared about his mother. His mother lost her husband, and it was more or less related to his brother. In Zhou Chengwang's heart, he felt guilty about his mother. Comparing her and Gu Mei's children, Qin Mu could be sure that she ranked first. He could not have children for her, or even never have children for the rest of his life. But compared with Zhou Chengwang's mother, she really didn't know who was more important in his heart. After Qin Mu finished speaking calmly, Zhou Chengwang was stunned for a moment. He felt that the calm Qin Mu had come back. The woman in front of him was not the little wife who acted coquettishly with him in the past few months and asked him to hug her, Zhou Chengwang, but the Qin Mu who said to him coldly, I want to leave you, Zhou Chengwang. I want to divorce you, Zhou Chengwang. Perhaps this was the special characteristic of a girl born with a good background. When she loved you and wanted to be with you, she would become very, very small like a child for you to pamper. But when she didn't love you and didn't want to be with you, she would become frighteningly rational. However, he still liked it, still loved it, still couldn't bear to let it go. Zhou Chengwang's Adam's apple bobbed, and his voice was very restrained. You should trust me. Qin Mu didn't want to quarrel with him in front of Mother Zhou. She broke away from his hand and whispered, Zhou Chengwang, I really don't want to be too ugly. Think about it. You can have the best of both worlds. Zhou Chengwang narrowed his eyes. He knew what she meant, and his frown deepened. I told you I won't divorce. Qin Mu said softly, Let go, I want to rest. Zhou Chengwang's hand tightened for a moment, but in the end, he let go. He looked at his empty hand in a daze. When he looked up, Qin Mu had already walked upstairs. Mother Zhou was still standing downstairs, and Zhou Chengwang slowly went down. He didn't say anything, and his face looked terrible. Mother Zhou was also silent. The two of them were silent for a long time before Mother Zhou whispered, Chengwang, think about what Mom said. Zhou Chengwang's smile was slightly cold. He put his hand in his pocket and looked down for a long time before he slowly looked up. His eyes met with his mother. Mother Zhou had never seen her son like this before, and she was shocked. Zhou Chengwang said softly, Mom, you heard it. Qin Mu isn't willing. Mother Zhou was a little disappointed and murmured, Doesn't she love you very much? Why can't she tolerate a child? Zhou Chengwang's smile became more desolate. Mom, don't you understand? The more she loves you, the more she can't tolerate this kind of thing. Chapter 2489. Zhou Chengwang couldn't help but say, I didn't do it well. Mom, you can't blame Qin Mu for this. Also, don't keep saying that she can't have children. His words were obviously biased towards Qin Mu. Mrs. Zhou was unhappy. Was she and her grandson not as important as Qin Mu? Mrs. Zhou couldn't persuade Zhou Chengwang, but she had her own plans. She sighed and said, Chengwang, no matter what, you can't do anything to Gu Mei. The child was already 5 months old. She wouldn't be able to get an abortion if she delayed any longer. Zhou Chengwang looked at his mother. How could he not know what she was thinking? He had his own helplessness, just as Qin Mu thought. On Qin Mu's matter, his mother had taken a step back. Now, he couldn't be too ruthless in this matter. Zhou Chengwang pursed his lips and finally said in a low voice, Mom, don't say any more. Mrs. Zhou was still worried, so she said a lot more, making Zhou Chengwang very upset. After sending Mrs. Zhou off, he sat downstairs and smoked half a pack of cigarettes. He wanted to talk to his mother, but she was already here, so there was no need to talk anymore. He sat downstairs for about 2 hours. As he smoked, he wondered if Qin Mu would cry if he was upstairs. Would she still cry for him now? At noon, he was disgusted by the smell of cigarettes. The servant came over in shock and asked, "Sir, what are we having for lunch?" Zhou Chengwang said faintly, "I'll cook. You can leave now. Don't go to the main house if there's nothing important." The servant immediately retreated. Everyone knew that Mr. was pregnant outside, and the atmosphere in the house was especially tense now. Zhou Chengwang was upset. He wanted to smoke another cigarette, but the cigarette box was empty, so he stopped and looked upstairs for a while before walking into the kitchen. Her stomach wasn't good, so he prepared 2 light dishes for her. Then he remembered that it was actually crazy of him to make her drink Chinese medicine in the morning. Just thinking about it made Zhou Chengwang's heart ache. How could he have been so heartless back then? Right now, she must hate him to the core. He was cooking, but he had accidentally cut his hand. When blood flowed out, he stared at it in a daze, thinking about the pain Qin Mu had felt at that time. After Zhou Chengwang finished cooking, he tasted it himself. He was afraid that the food he made would be bitter. After tasting it, he looked upstairs and hesitated. In the end, he decided to go upstairs to call her. Pushing open the bedroom door, he saw that Qin Mu was still awake. She must have taken a shower. She was lying on the bed in her bathrobe, holding a picture album in her hands. Her expression was so calm that Zhou Chengwang almost thought that nothing had happened. He slowly closed the door, walked over, and gently took the book from her hand. "Mumu, it's time to eat." Qin Mu raised his eyes, and his gaze landed on his finger. Zhou Chengwang followed her gaze and said in a low voice, "I accidentally cut myself when I was cutting vegetables. Does it hurt?" Qin Mu's voice was a little soft. Zhou Chengwang looked at her, and his heart was hit by her words. He humbly found that as long as she showed him a little kindness, his heart would be pitifully lit up with hope again. Yes, hope. He half knelt beside her, held her little hand, and humbly kissed it. "Mumu, you still care about me, don't you?" Chapter 2490. Such an answer was enough for him. Zhou Chengwang leaned forward and kissed her lips lightly. Qin Mu struggled instinctively, but he held her hand firmly and said in a hoarse voice, "Mumu, don't hate me. I beg you." The last 2 words were almost whispered in the corner of her mouth, and then he kissed her bit by bit. Qin Mu pursed her lips and didn't give him a chance to go deeper, but it seemed that he was satisfied. Just by kissing her like this, Zhou Chengwang felt his heart throbbing, and she didn't resist. He didn't dare to do anything else. He just buried his face in her neck and murmured, "Mumu, what do you want? Can you forgive me?" He didn't expect her to answer, but Qin Mu said in a low voice, "I don't know, Zhou Chengwang. I don't know what to do." Zhou Chengwang's heart was almost broken. He held her little face and kissed her bit by bit. "You can't bear to part with me, can you?" Qin Mu closed her eyes slightly. "I don't." He looked at her with a little disappointment in his eyes. Then he lay on her chest and reached out to hug her. His voice was very soft. "Mumu, I know you still love me, don't you?" Qin Mu raised her head. Her throat seemed to be blocked. She didn't say anything and just reached out to hit his shoulder. He grabbed her little hand tightly and then forcefully brought her hand to his waist and let her hug it. Qin Mu struggled a few times, but she had no strength left. She could only lie down softly with her slender arms around his waist. She turned her face to the side. "Zhou Chengwang, get up." He pinched her chin with one hand and kissed her warmly. Qin Mu turned her face to the side, so he chased after her and kissed her. This kiss was very gentle, as if he had poured all his love into her. In the end, his voice was low and hoarse. "Mumu, you still love me." This time it was certain. Qin Mu didn't want to answer, because admitting it would be embarrassing for her. She didn't speak, and he felt satisfied in his heart. He kissed her again. "Time to eat. Be good." He carried her up, but Qin Mu's fingers grabbed onto his sleeve. Her voice was very low. "Zhou Chengwang." He looked at her gently. "Mumu." She clenched her fists, causing them to turn pale. Her voice was filled with helplessness and uneasiness. "Zhou Chengwang, I'm not such a cruel person. I didn't ask you to abort the child." She whispered, "It's a life. But I'm not generous enough to accept this child, like your mother said, to raise this child." Zhou Chengwang's breathing became shallow. "Mumu, You're finally willing to talk to me, aren't you? Qin Mu shook her head. I don't know, Zhou Chengwang, I don't know. Her voice was a little lower. I don't know what's going on between you and her, and I don't know how much you've been in contact with her in the past month. Zhou Chengwang, I'm afraid that there seems to be no reason for us to go on. We love each other, he said calmly. Qin Mu raised his eyes and looked at him in surprise. His expression was blank. Zhou Chengwang looked into her eyes with some gentleness. Mumu, everything will pass. She was in a trance, and after a while, she shook her head. No, Zhou Chengwang, that you're tuning in to the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.